So last thing I wanted to ask you guys, as we're kind of talking about the point guard role, obviously, we've seen, Cole has struggled somewhat offensively to start the year. Right now due to the injuries, Jordan Bone is pretty much the full-time backup right now. Michael Carter-Williams, we're still waiting for him to come back, but just something that over the last 2 weeks, I mean, really since Markelle went down, there's one name in particular that I keep seeing come up, and I almost don't want to have this conversation, but people are talking about it so much, I feel like we have to, as far as addressing like the backup point guard role, because people are either like, we either need a veteran to come in and take over for Cole until he's ready, or we need someone that's better than Jordan Bone. So the person, I'm sure you know who I'm talking about. I'm talking about Isaiah Thomas.
Don't say it.
I'm talking about Isaiah Thomas. There's a few other names out there that have been thrown around. When you look across like the landscape of the NBA free agency, I think if we were to sign a veteran backup point guard, the best three candidates that I could find would be Isaiah Thomas, Emmanuel Mudiay, and then Brandon Knight. Okay, we don't have to talk too much about Mudiay and Knight because people have just focused on Isaiah Thomas. George, how do you feel about whether or not the Magic should go after Isaiah Thomas?
I personally don't think it wouldn't work. I think people are too fixated on the Boston Isaiah Thomas and just think that the Boston Isaiah Thomas is magically going to come back. I mean, we saw how Isaiah Thomas performed after his hip surgery in Cleveland and Denver. I don't think he's going to be that Boston IT, and I think the defense would just be horrendous with him. I mean, the guy doesn't play defense. I don't think he fits with the system. He's a ball-dominant player. He takes a lot of shots, and he has no defense. So I personally don't like the idea. I heard the idea of Jeremy Lin float around. I think Jeremy Lin would be better than Isaiah Thomas, but I don't know. It's kind of a very shallow market of point guards right now.
Yeah, those three names you named, Jonathan. I'll give it a pass, and a pass. I don't. Why? I don't. Why would we rush to just sign a backup point if you got AG who can facilitate MCW coming back soon? What do you? Why? Are we? I'm sorry. Are we gonna make the finals? Like, do we need to do this? Do we really need to go down that road of signing a backup point guard? I mean, you could argue, sure. I mean, if we're really, desperate to make the playoffs, but I think with the roster we've got, we can be somewhat competitive when MCW comes back, and kind of continue to give young guys like Cole meaningful minutes, give AG some time to continue to boost that trade stock a little bit. And that's it. I mean, I'm not really hitting the panic button to sign Isaiah Thomas or Emmanuel Mudiay or any of those guys.
So Michael Carter-Williams, that is my whole thing. Like, first of all, we know regardless, we could sign Michael Jordan tomorrow, like prime Michael Jordan, right? We could sign 10 prime Michael Jordans tomorrow. Steve Clifford would still find a way to get Michael Carter-Williams in the rotation. Like, that's just there's no reality. there's no matrix simulation that we live in where Michael Carter-Williams does not get on the floor in a Magic uniform with Steve Clifford as the head coach. Okay, let's just all accept that. But my thing, okay, so you're going to go out, you sign Isaiah Thomas. Then what's going to happen with Michael Carter-Williams when he comes back? Then Isaiah Thomas is just our 13th man sitting on the end of the bench. Like, do we really need to do that? And this kind of goes back to my point earlier where you don't necessarily just say, okay, we're going to purposely lose as many games as possible, right? But you also don't try to sell out just to make the 8th or the 9th or the 10th seed again, right? Is it important for the young guys? Sure, but at this point, what young guys are we talking about? We're talking about Cole. We're talking about Chuma. Right. We're talking about Mo. At this point, I don't think it's really going to hinder those guys that much if we don't make the playoffs this year. Is it important to play in meaningful games and be competitive? Absolutely. That's why I'm saying don't just throw the season away and try to be as bad as possible, but don't also sell out to be, the 8th or 9th or 10th seed. Don't do just whatever it takes. We've seen what happens when you do whatever it takes to be the 8th seed. You trade Tobias Harris for Ersan Ilyasova and Brandon Jennings. Guess what? That didn't work. Okay? Yeah. So why on God's green earth would we do that again? Okay.
Well,
The other thing is, go ahead.
no, I'm just gonna say I'll paint the picture. You sign Isaiah Thomas, you get some more depth at point guard. You're the 10 seed, right? Just the Amway is rocking. You're the 10 seed. I'm being facetious, by the way. The Amway's not gonna be rocking at 10 seed. And
I would
and
no.
you-
I understand what you're saying, but I would disagree with you. If the Magic get into it like a playing game at the 10 seed, I don't think they'd be hosting it anyways. But in this theoretical universe, if the Magic have one game to get into the playoffs, the Amway would definitely be rocking.
okay,
I just wanna
fine,
throw that in
fine,
there.
fine. So Amway, fine, Jonathan. The Amway is rocking. All right. It's
Just
the
give
the
credit
10
where it's
the-
due. That's all.
the
We've
10
been there.
The 10 seed. Yeah, that's fine.
Post-COVID sellout crowd.
Right. Yeah.
Yes.
So you go on to lose. You've sold out, like Jonathan has said many times. You sell out for Isaiah Thomas. You're the 10 seed. The Amway is rocking, and you lose. And then you're looking at yourself and you're going, why did we sign Isaiah Thomas to be the 10 seed and go fishing like a week later than teams that didn't even make the playoffs? So that's my take is very similar with what I know is Jonathan's, what I'm sure is George's as well. No point. I'm not entertaining the idea. Why do you need it? You don't. You don't need
So my last point